Hey everybody, welcome to the first of Moreland Hall's relaunched seminar series. My name is Ray Stevens. I work in the education and training team at Moreland Hall, and one of my jobs is the ICT project leader. So I've had a bit to do with Web 2 in the ARD sector over the last couple of years, and it's a very interesting topic, and it's something that I'm very keen for us to be talking about, which is why we've scheduled this seminar for us today. I'm very keen for this to be a discussion seminar as well. So if anybody's got any questions any time along the way, please feel free to throw them in and we'll talk about them. So this is about Web 2, but particularly it's about Web 2 in our sector. Web 2 is a very hard thing to define. So the first thing I did in putting this talk together, had a little think about what Web 2 actually is. And when you do a Google search on Web 2, you get a whole range of things. And one of them is a slide like this. When places, companies, organisations, media first started publishing on the internet, they used it as a bulletin board. So you would write something about your organisation or an activity or an event, and you'd publish it up there and people would log onto your website and read it. It's like a book or a newspaper. And that's what's called Web 1. It's a one-way flow of information. I publish it, you read it. And most websites for the first 10 years were developed using Web 1. Every time you went back there it looked the same, might have other stuff added, but you could always read that article. The publisher controls the content. Web 2 is where what is seen on the page is developed through a two-way flow of information. So I might contribute content, but also the readers contribute content to that page. So it's what is sometimes called the read-write web. So I can read it, but I can also interact with the website. So anything where I can interact or add content to that page gets called Web 2. So if we think of an example, Web 1 would have been the Age website 5 years ago. I log on to see the current news. Now I log on, I read the news, and the first thing I want to do is comment on what's happening. So they've added a comments feature below most articles where readers of the page can generate content that goes up onto the page and becomes a collective reporting of what is currently happening. So it's a publisher and the readers, often called the cloud, and that's why the picture of a cloud there. The cloud contributes to the content of the site. So if you Google Web 2, you get pictures like this, and a lot of people have said Web 2 are these tools. They're Flickr, YouTube, Twitter, Gmail, a whole lot of tools. To me, this is not Web 2. This is just a bunch of tools that have been used at various stages over the years for people to do Web 2, but as soon as you put this image up, half of them are obsolete now, no longer being used. And I don't think it's a useful way of describing what is Web 2. When I started to try and conceptualise this, what I saw was this image of where people have tried to make links between those tools. And it's the developing of the networks between those tools. Now we're starting to get onto what is Web 2. It's how people use those tools to have conversations. So when I started to read about this and think of it in this way, that's when it really started to make sense. Web 2 is people engaged in conversation on the web. So it isn't a thing, I can't define it to you, but it's a philosophy. It's a way of working, it's a state of mind, and once you start doing it, you will no longer see the internet in any other way. If you go to a site that doesn't have the ability for you to contribute to the content, you may well be frustrated and move on. So this is a classic slide, and all the research replicates this in one way or another. Where do people go for their current health information? Most people, and I expect most of you, I certainly do, if you want information about a health-related issue, first port of call is the internet. You'll Google it. I went to see my GP recently after doing something very stupid on my son's scooter, and I'd done something to a muscle, and I was there for other reasons. I said, while I'm here, which allied health service do you reckon I should go to get help with, I can't lift my arm up? And he said, I don't know, you choose. And I said, oh, okay, do you reckon it's serious? And he said, it sounds like you've probably done a something or other. It was a very long word for the muscle. And I said, what does that mean? And he shrugged his shoulders and said, Google it. which is absolutely, for my parents, they might take offence at that. For me, that was entirely appropriate because that's exactly what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to remember what you tell me and I'm going to go home and Google it. Websites are the first port of call, but if we're thinking that websites are predominantly becoming Web 2, the first port of call for health information, when we think about our clients, is Web 2 services on the internet. I just want to talk a little bit about the cloud, because it's a metaphor that often gets used. It's probably useful for us to clarify what's actually meant by the cloud. Have you heard of the cloud? People talking about the cloud on the web. Mark Pesce is a futurist and works on the new inventors, and he's a blog that I follow. He talks a lot about these things, and he did a blog a little while back about the cloud, and so I've pinched a little bit from him. And what he was saying was that in the 21st century we have two oppositional methods of information, and we think about this like Web 2. Two different ways of generating what people perceive as current information. One is the hierarchy, and the hierarchy are the experts. They're the universities, the journal writers, us producing brochures, journalists for media organisations. That's the hierarchy, the respected individuals, experts in their field. The other source of information is the cloud. And the cloud is really a group of well-connected, interested people that throw in their 2 cents worth, and through this backwards and forwards will generate some content, some information. The thing about the hierarchy in the cloud, the hierarchy, I can define it easily, and that's often visualised like a building. The cloud comes and goes, and as soon as you try and grab it or harness it, it'll move on and disappear in front of you. So the cloud is forever elusive. I'll give you an example of what I mean of these two things. And I've chosen something not in Australia because I don't want to offend anybody. But the NHS, for example, in the UK is the National Health Service. This is where you go to find out apparently information about health and health providers in the UK. And this is their website, and you can do a search. You can do a search for health issues or providers. You can find a GP in your local area, and that's what you're expected to do, to go there to the hierarchy. Here's the experts, tell me what I need to know about that health issue or that health service. The cloud got together and made patient opinion in the UK, where this is purely built up from the grassroots. Somebody posted an opinion about a particular health service, somebody else commented on that, somebody else said, well, you should try this health service, somebody posted an opinion on that, and it just grew from there. So it grew from the ground up. And that's important. Cloud needs to be from the ground up. If you try and dictate the cloud, you'll miss it. Patient opinion has grown dramatically in the UK. And there's a lot of websites like this, choose your university kind of websites, for everything now. You can go and get people's opinions on anything. A specific example, the hierarchy here talking about Royal Hallamshire Hospital, talks about what you can expect to find, what's the location, what services do they offer, and that's mildly useful for me. But if I'm considering going to the Royal Hallamshire Hospital, I want to know what all the other people who've been there thought of it, because I've got choice about which hospital I go to. So I'll go to patient opinions and find out how that hospital gets ranked and in comparison. To me, that's far more valuable. I don't believe what Royal Hallamshire Hospital tells me about their hospital. I'll believe what the patients tell me about their hospital. So if we're looking at providing information, we need to be including the people who access our services in validating that information. Is it being used? When I put this slide together from Datapedia, the monthly visits for the NHS website, 420,000, for patient opinions, 900,000. So twice as many people go there for their information about the services than the NHS website. What that does, the cloud has a lot of power, and the NHS could, or Royal Hallamshire Hospital, for example, could choose to ignore that and just keep telling people, no, you need to come to our website to get information, or they can engage in the conversation. And here, the Tamside Hospital has chosen to engage in the conversation. Somebody posting on patient opinions, negative experience of the hospital joins in the conversation and posts a reply. That's what they should be doing. We need to embrace the cloud. The cloud's not going to go away. They are very powerful. If we choose to ignore those type of things, we will become obsolete. And I'll give you some other examples. These are just where I get information from, and it's really, and I'm sure this is reflected in the room. Recently went to Liverpool, had to book accommodation. I could have gone to the tourist information website, that's of no use to me. I want to go to the people who've stayed at hotels and find out the best ranked hotel in the area according to people who stayed there, so I used this site to book all my accommodation for that trip. I want to find out information about mental health. I go to Headspace because I want to hear what people with mental health issues, how they describe what having that mental health condition is like. So I go to Headspace, a great Web 2 site. Computer information, I don't go to Microsoft anymore, I go to the forums, and most geeks do. If you want an answer, you go to the forum, you don't go to the corporate website. I fly powered parachutes, I don't go to Rotax for information about the engine, I talk to the other pilots, etc, etc. Ning sites, talk to the developers. And what's happening is a lot of corporations now are not providing support, they just open a forum and let the cloud provide the support for them, and you'll see that more and more. The reason why I'm saying this is that what's happening is people are relying more and more on the cloud for validity of information, to say that that's the truth because the cloud has said it. They don't believe what the hierarchy says as much. They want to know what the cloud says. So if we're publishing information, providing information, we really need to be, I think, providing opportunities for the cloud to generate that information with the risks involved, as well as what we traditionally provide. Going back to Mark Pesce, this was a very useful slide for me in his talk that he gave, and I'm reproducing it for you. He said that we're in an area of hyper-connectivity, and all of you now realise that how connected you are to each other and how quickly informed you are of what's going on. And the globe now is hyper-connected at the speed of light. Information travels instantly amongst networks. What that allows is for groups to develop, groups with a common interest, very quickly around a current issue. So the election, for example, a group will develop around that. When anything occurs, Pakistan, Haiti, a group of interested people will get together and form a cloud and start working on that issue. And what that does is puts the intelligence of the whole cloud together to work for the benefit of that community. And there's some examples of this. The BP spill in the Gulf, there was a real feeling that we weren't being given all the information, so immediately clouds start developing to try and get that information. People know little bits, we'll all share it so that we can all get the big picture of what's actually going on. So Facebook groups are a classic cloud development. The dual diagnosis Ning site, interested people, everybody had a bit of information about what was going on with dual diagnosis in Victoria and around Australia. Let's get together and share it on a Ning site. And the other one is Heads Together, of course. If you're not a member of Heads Together, you work in our sector, strongly encourage you to join. So people with a common interest, AOD service providers, getting together and sharing information and mulling over topics and issues that are confronting the sector in what is felt to be a safe place. That's the other thing about clouds. They're generally pretty non-intimidating because people will work through things together.